The cold metal walls of the Earth Defense Force Command Center echoed with tense silence as Lieutenant Jae-Hwang Kim stood before the holographic display. His dark eyes reflected the flickering blue-green images of distant planetary systems, each marked with blood-red warning indicators. Commander Park slid a data chip across the steel table. "Your mission is straightforward, Lieutenant. The Crimson Phantom has become more than just a threat. It's a systematic destroyer of human colonies." Jae-Hwang's fingers closed around the chip. He knew the reputation of this alien creature, predator that had consumed 3 frontier settlements in less than 6 standard months. Entire colonies vanished without a trace, leaving behind only scorched landscapes and mysterious energy signatures. The briefing was clinical and direct. Satellite reconnaissance had tracked the creature's movement across the Orion sector's outer rim. Its capabilities defied standard xenobiological understanding. No weapon previously deployed had even slowed its destructive path. "We need complete elimination," Commander Park emphasized. "No samples, no survivors, total destruction." Jae-Hwang's training kicked in. He wasn't just a soldier, he was a specialized xenological combat specialist. His record showed 17 successful missions in hostile planetary environments, each completed with surgical precision. The mission parameters were etched into his neural implant: locate, engage, neutralize the Crimson Phantom. Simple, direct. Seemingly impossible, his personal gear was meticulously selected: a plasma-enhanced rifle capable of molecular disruption, adaptive camouflage suit that could blend with multiple environmental conditions, advanced communication systems resistant to electromagnetic interference. Each piece of equipment represented humanity's most advanced technological achievements. As he prepared for departure, memories of his younger sister's colony, destroyed 3 years ago, flickered in his mind. This wasn't just another mission. This was personal. The launch bay hummed with electromagnetic energy as his single-pilot assault craft prepared for quantum jump. Navigation systems calculated the precise trajectory to Kepler 372, the planet where the Crimson Phantom was last detected. "Lieutenant Kim, final system check." The launch controller's voice crackled through his helmet communications. "Systems optimal, ready for deployment," Jae-Hwang responded, his voice steady and controlled. The quantum jump felt like a momentary dissolution of reality. Space compressed, twisted, and then expanded. Within minutes, the toxic purple atmosphere of Kepler 372 filled his view screen. Initial scans revealed a landscape of razor-sharp crystalline terrains and toxic atmospheric conditions, perfect hunting ground for a creature designed to survive in extreme environments. Jae-Hwang's neural link began processing environmental data, temperature fluctuations, radiation levels, atmospheric composition. Each data point was a potential survival strategy, a potential weapon against the unknown. As the landing sequence initiated, something felt different. The usual pre-mission tension was replaced by a strange calmness. Years of training had prepared him for this moment, a confrontation that could determine the survival of human colonies in this sector. The assault craft touched down with minimal disturbance. External sensors immediately began scanning the surrounding terrain. Nothing moved, nothing breathed. The silence was more threatening than any visible danger. Jae-Hwang checked his rifle's molecular disruptor. One shot could theoretically vaporize a medium-sized building. Against the Crimson Phantom, he wasn't certain it would be enough. His first steps on the planetary surface created tiny, crystalline echoes. Each movement was calculated, each breath controlled. He wasn't just a soldier, he was a hunter. And the Crimson Phantom was about to become his prey. Little did he know, the mission was about to become far more complex than any military strategist could have predicted. The Crimson Phantom was waiting, and it was not what anyone expected. The hunt was just beginning. The crystalline terrain of Kepler 372 stretched out like a frozen nightmare. Sharp edges glinted under the dim purple light, creating a landscape that seemed more like a deadly glass sculpture than a planetary surface. Jae-Hwang's boots crunched carefully, each step calculated to minimize sound and potential injury. His adaptive suit's sensors worked overtime, analyzing every microscopic change in the environment. Temperature fluctuated wildly, from near freezing to scorching in minutes. Radiation levels danced unpredictably on his helmet display, creating patterns that made no scientific sense. Something was watching him. He couldn't see it, couldn't hear it. But years of combat experience had trained his instincts to recognize when he was being observed. The first trace of the Crimson Phantom appeared unexpectedly. A small fragment of biomechanical material, no larger than his thumb, embedded in a crystal formation. Unlike typical biological remains, this piece seemed to pulse with a strange internal energy. Jie Huang's neural link began processing the fragment's composition. It wasn't purely organic, not entirely mechanical. Something in between. A hybrid. Technology that defied current human understanding. Suddenly the ground shifted. Not a large movement, just a subtle vibration that most would have missed. But Jie Huang wasn't most people. His combat suit's stabilizers activated instantly, keeping him balanced while surrounding crystals began to realign themselves. This was no ordinary planet. Every element seemed alive, responsive, intelligent. The communication device on his wrist began receiving fragmented signals, broken, distorted, but definitely communication. Something was trying to communicate, but the language was beyond human comprehension. 3 kilometers ahead, a massive crystalline structure rose from the planetary surface. It wasn't a natural formation, too perfect, too symmetrical. Something had constructed it, or grown it. Wind carried strange particles, not dust, not ash. Something that seemed to carry information. His suit's filters worked frantically to prevent contamination, but microscopic elements were already penetrating its defenses. Each step revealed more mystery. Fragments of previous expeditions littered the landscape. Broken equipment, scattered technology. Remnants of previous missions that had disappeared without explanation. The Crimson Phantom's hunting ground was preparing to reveal its secrets. Jie Huang's rifle remained charged, but he understood something fundamental. This mission was no longer about simple elimination. Something more complex was unfolding. A distant sound, not wind, not mechanical, something that resembled a communication pulse. His enhanced hearing caught fragments, rhythmic, almost musical, but definitely not natural. The crystalline landscape began changing. Subtle shifts, microscopic realignments. The terrain was responding to his presence, adapting, preparing. His neural implants started processing unexpected data streams, fragments of information that made no logical sense, glimpses of complex system interactions that suggested the entire planet might be a single living organism. Something moved in the distant crystal formations, fast, almost invisible, a shadow that didn't conform to standard light refraction principles. The Crimson Phantom was closer than he realized. Jie Huang took another careful step. The planet seemed to hold its breath. Something was about to happen. Something that would challenge everything humanity understood about alien encounters, and he was standing right in the middle of it. The hunt had truly begun. The holographic data fragments danced across Jie Huang's suit interface, revealing something impossible. What military intelligence had described as a simple predatory creature was far more complex. Each crystal formation contained encoded information, not random signals, not meaningless noise, but a complex communication network that seemed to breathe with intelligence. His neural link struggled to process the incoming data. Fragments of planetary history emerged, not through traditional archaeological evidence, but through living memory embedded in the crystalline structures themselves. The Crimson Phantom wasn't a beast. It was a guardian of what remained. The critical question. Microscopic energy signatures pulsed around him. The planetary surface responded to his movements, subtle crystal formations shifting imperceptibly. Each step revealed another layer of complexity. Temperature readings became unstable. Radiation patterns defied scientific understanding. Something was actively monitoring his presence, not as a threat, but as an unknown variable in a complex system. Jie Huang discovered the first significant evidence 30 meters from his initial landing point. A biomechanical fragment that wasn't just a piece of technology, It was a memory storage device, incredibly advanced, beyond current human technological capabilities. When his suit's diagnostic systems interfaced with the fragment, something unexpected happened. Memories flooded his consciousness, not his memories, not human memories, alien experiences that transcended linear understanding, glimpses of cosmic interactions, planetary transformations, survival strategies that made human technology look primitive. The Crimson Phantom emerged not as a destroyer, but as a protective mechanism, a complex biological system designed to maintain a delicate interdimensional balance. Military reports had been catastrophically wrong. Those colony destructions, not random attacks, they were defensive responses to human technological intrusions that threatened fundamental planetary ecosystems. Each destroyed settlement represented a potential dimensional breach. The Crimson Phantom had been preventing something far more dangerous than simple human colonization. Jae-Hwang's understanding of the mission began to transform. The communication pulses became clearer, not random noise, a language, a complex system of information exchange that operated on frequencies humans had never previously detected. Something was trying to communicate, not just with him, but through him. His neural implant started receiving complex mathematical equations, quantum mechanics, representations that suggested multiple dimensional interactions happening simultaneously. Calculations that would take human supercomputers decades to process were happening in microseconds around him. The planetary surface was alive, not metaphorically, literally. Each crystal formation contained memories. Each radiation pulse carried information. The entire planet functioned like a massive living computational system, and the Crimson Phantom was its immune system. Jae-Hwang realized his mission was no longer about elimination. It had become something far more significant. First contact with an intelligence humanity couldn't yet comprehend. Distant crystal formations began to align, not randomly, with purpose, as if preparing to communicate something fundamental. The military would never understand this. Their goal of destruction would mean losing the most significant scientific discovery in human history. Something was watching, waiting, evaluating. His next decision would change everything. The Crimson Phantom wasn't just waiting. It was testing. And humanity's representative stood right in the middle of a cosmic examination. The planet held its breath. Jae-Hwang understood one critical truth. This was no longer a mission of destruction. This was a moment of potential understanding. The confrontation began without dramatic explosion or violent clash. It started with silence. Jae-Hwang stood perfectly still. The crystalline landscape around him seemed to breathe, waiting, watching. Each moment stretched like elastic, time becoming something fluid and unpredictable. First contact happened through unexpected means. Not through weapons, not through traditional communication, but through a subtle energy pulse that penetrated his neural systems. Something was reaching into his mind, not attacking, exploring. The Crimson Phantom's initial manifestation was nothing like military reports suggested. Instead of a monstrous creature, it appeared as a shimmering energy pattern, translucent, intelligent, watching. Microscopic tendrils of energy extended from the surrounding crystal formations. They moved with purpose, scanning Jae-Hwang's biological and technological systems. Curiosity replaced potential aggression. His combat training screamed to activate defensive protocols, but something deeper, an instinctive understanding, told him to remain still. The energy patterns began constructing a communication matrix, not through sound, not through visual signals, but through direct neural transmission. Memories, emotions, experiences transferred in milliseconds. Jae-Hwang witnessed the Crimson Phantom's perspective, centuries of planetary protection, complex ecosystem management, preventing dimensional breaches that human technology couldn't comprehend. The destroyed colonies weren't massacres. They were surgical interventions, preventing cosmic catastrophes. His rifle remained charged but unused. Movement would destroy the delicate communication process happening around him. The planetary consciousness evaluated him, not as an enemy, but as a potential bridge between two radically different intelligences. Fragments of information flooded his neural systems, mathematical equations, quantum mechanical representations, survival strategies that transform traditional understanding of biological and technological interactions. The Crimson Phantom wasn't a creature, it was a living computational system, a guardian of complex, interdimensional boundaries. Something fundamental was happening. First contact wasn't about conflict, it was about understanding. Jie Huang's breathing remained controlled, each breath calculated. Each moment filled with potential transformation. The energy patterns began reconstructing memories, not his memories, planetary memories, cosmic interactions spanning millennia, survival strategies that made human technological achievements look primitive. His neural implant struggled to process the incoming information. Entire scientific paradigms collapsed and reformed in milliseconds. The confrontation wasn't a battle, it was an examination. Humanity was being tested. And Jie Huang was the unexpected representative. Crystal formations around him began to realign, subtle movements that suggested intelligent design. The entire planetary surface became a living, breathing communication system. The Crimson Phantom's true nature emerged, not as a destroyer but as a protective mechanism maintaining delicate cosmic balances. Those colony destructions? Surgical interventions preventing potential dimensional catastrophes. Military intelligence had been catastrophically wrong. Jie Huang understood his mission had transformed. He was no longer a soldier sent to eliminate. He had become a potential translator between two radically different forms of intelligence. The energy patterns intensified, not aggressively, carefully, methodically. Something was preparing to communicate something fundamental. Humanity's understanding of the universe was about to change forever, and it would happen here, on this distant planet. With this unexpected encounter, the Crimson Phantom continued its examination. Jie Huang remained perfectly still. The cosmic conversation had begun. The transformation happened slowly. Almost imperceptibly, Jie Huang's neural systems began integrating with the planetary consciousness, not through violent invasion, but through a delicate, symbiotic process of mutual understanding. Hours passed, or maybe moments. Time became a fluid concept on Kepler 372. When communication completed, Jie Huang was no longer just a human soldier. He had become something else, a bridge between two radically different forms of intelligence. The Crimson Phantom's true purpose emerged with stunning clarity. It wasn't a destroyer. It was a protector of cosmic boundaries. Each human colony destruction had been a precise intervention, preventing dimensional catastrophes that humanity couldn't comprehend. His communication device crackled to life. But the message wasn't meant for Earth Command. It was a complex transmission that would fundamentally challenge everything humanity understood about alien encounters. The planetary consciousness had selected him as a messenger. Memories flooded. His understanding, not human memories, cosmic memories. Survival strategies spanning thousands of planetary cycles. Intricate ecological management that made human technology look like primitive scratches. When Jie Huang's neural link reconnected with Earth systems, his report would destroy everything military intelligence believed. The crystals around him began to pulse. Soft, rhythmic, communicating something beyond human language. He understood now. The mission was never about elimination, it was about first contact. Quantum data streams transferred through his neural implant. Mathematical equations that would take human supercomputers centuries to decode were happening in microseconds. Entire scientific paradigms collapsed and reformed within moments. The transformation wasn't physical, it was informational. Jie Huang had become a living communication bridge. His suit systems began generating a comprehensive report. But this wasn't a traditional military document. It was a complex neural transmission that carried multiple layers of understanding. The Crimson Phantom had chosen him specifically, not randomly. With precise calculation, humanity was being evaluated, and he was the unexpected representative. Distant Earth Command would receive a transmission that would change everything. Protocols would shatter. Scientific understanding would be fundamentally rewritten. The planetary consciousness had a message, and Jie Huang was its chosen messenger. Cosmic boundaries would be redefined. His neural systems completed the information transfer, memories, understanding. Complex ecological and dimensional management strategies became part of his fundamental consciousness. The crystals around him began to slowly dissolve. Not destructively, systematically. Releasing stored information accumulated over millennia, Jie Huang understood his mission had transformed from elimination to preservation. When his spacecraft would eventually return to Earth, he would carry something far more valuable than any military intelligence. He carried understanding. The communication concluded with a final, profound realization. Humanity was not alone, and their understanding of the universe was about to be dramatically transformed. The Crimson Phantom had chosen its messenger carefully, and Jie Huang was ready. The cosmic conversation was just beginning. Earth would never be the same. Humanity's first true alien encounter had just happened, and everything was about to change.